Hey guys, on today's episode, which senior coach has thrown their support behind mid-season trading? There's some issues down at the Cattery, and we break down the winners and losers from round 3. All that and more on this episode of Zero Hanger TV. All right, so straight into it, Mitch. So Collingwood are without their best 3 ruck options coming into the next round.
Yeah, really difficult situation for Craig McRae and his side after a 3-0 start. So it's been fantastic for them, but they might hit a bit of a brick wall this weekend when they come up against Oscar McInerney without a recognised ruck. Now, Darcy Cameron's MCL sprain looking at about 6 to 8 weeks, so that'll rule him out. Mason Cox still indefinite, and Aidan Begg as well with a back injury. So there's a few issues there. They do have Oscar Steen, who joined them in February, but Craig McRae pretty adamant he won't be throwing him to the Wolves this early in his development. So it could mean that the likes of Dan McStay, Ash Johnson, Billy Frampton will all have to kind of share that role together when they take on Brisbane on Thursday night at the Gabba. But Craig McRae threw his support behind potentially adding in a mid-season trade, not a period, but just mid-season trades throughout. This is what he had to say at Monday's press conference.
No, I'm big on that mid-season trade. I think it'll be great for the game. Within the right parameters, I think it'll add something for the fans that enjoy that, and opportunities like this, for example, come up and we might need someone. I'm a big fan for the mid-season trade.
So one player that the Magpies would like to kind of consider for a mid-season trade might be that Sam Naismith, straight out of Port Melbourne if they could. Doesn't even have to deal with an AFL club. He had 60 plus hit-outs against Oscar Steen, the Magpies ruckman, in the VFL over the weekend, and obviously he's had a pretty hard time with injuries over his career. Finally let go by the Swans, but that'd be a perfect avenue for him to be back in the top flight.
Yeah, so a couple of options there, but they're looking pretty good regardless.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all right. So now we're going to jump to the winners and losers from round 3. And Mitch, there is a winner and a loser in Mason Wood.
Yeah, kind of a mixed week for Mason Wood. He's certainly one of the form players of the competition, all Australian talks. There'll be some MVP talk on him later in the show, but just that shoulder injury at the end of the game in that win over Essendon really hurt his day. He was absolutely fantastic again, another potential 3-vote performance from a Brownlow perspective, but he's now looking at potentially 6+ weeks on the sidelines. So both a winner and a loser in that regard. Some other winners from the week, Jamari Ugle-Hagan, absolutely fantastic in Thursday night's win over Brisbane, and just everything, I think, all the support, his message post-game, and even sitting with Luke Beveridge in that press conference was some great courage from him to also not only just step up to the occasion, but to even play in that game after the week he had the week prior. So huge win for Jamari Ugle-Hagan. Loser from the weekend, I think the Tigers, going a bit too tall in the wet, probably could have forecasted, the conditions for Friday night. Even the Pies were going in a bit small after losing Mason Cox, and Samson Ryan subbed out at half-time, made it really difficult, and we saw the impact that Noel Cumberland had. So that was kind of one to bite Damien Hardwick after the game, but they'll move on and hopefully bounce back against the Bulldogs this weekend. Another winner, David Swallow, 200 games, first to do it for the Suns. Been there since day one. There aren't too many around that are doing that for the Suns at the moment. So stellar effort, and it'd be just great to see him at least play a final in his career at some point, whether it's this year potentially, or next year, or in the coming years, however long he's got left. But hopefully one final to add to those 200 plus games for David Swallow. Loser, Port Adelaide's contested work. We'll probably throw Geelong in there as well. I think both of those sides, I think we know what we can get from them, but we certainly haven't seen it, at least in the past 2 weeks, from Port Adelaide. Absolutely trounced by Adelaide's midfield, and Geelong the same against the Suns. So a couple of losers there, and a winner to finish off as well. Some bragging rights. The Crows got the win, Fremantle got the win, and look, to be honest, I think West Coast can certainly take some credit from the loss with the injury toll they had, so they might be half and half, a bit like Mason Wood, a winner and a loser from the weekend. But that's our winners and losers for round 3.
Yeah, that was a cracking first quarter from West Coast in the derby over there. So now moving over to the rookie rankings. So a little bit of movement in the top 6, but a couple of Ds knocking down the door.
Yeah, so top 6, we haven't actually seen change from inside or outside the top 6, just more some players moving around. So Ruben Jimby's been absolutely fantastic. Now currently has led the league in tackles all season, and is still doing so at the end of round 3. He'll fall, or I guess come up to the 3rd spot overall, swapping his place with Blue Oliver Hollands. Now Harry Sheasel stays at number 1, Will Ashcroft at number 2, but Ruben Jimmy is right behind Ashcroft at the moment on that podium. Hollands just falls to 4, and then 5th and 6th have also swapped. So Cam McKenzie coming up into 5th spot. A stellar game, I thought, against the Roos in that win. And that just sees Mateus Filippo kind of fall out into that 6th spot. But right behind him, there are heaps of names. Max Michelani been absolutely fantastic for Adelaide for all 3 matches, and then 2 as well at the Ds, as you mentioned. Judd McVie, who was in our rankings after round 1, fell out and kind of bounced back in that round 3 win over the Swans. And then Jacob Van Rooyen was stellar, 3 or 4 goals on debut, a bag if you like for a young fella, and he'll be one to watch in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I was at that game and just very excited as a D fan for Jacob Van Rooyen. Okay, so now moving over to the Cattery, and Geelong are 0-3 to start the season.
Yeah, it was very hard viewing, I think, not only for Cats fans, but a few neutral fans as well, given the game. But the Suns would have been absolutely rapt to kind of bounce back into some winning form, and doing so over the reigning premiers. First reigning premier to fall to 0-3 in, I think, 47 years. So that's a stat to kind of remember for the Cats. But where they're losing it, contested possession, clearance numbers, they're ranking so lowly compared to last year, where they were, one of the better sides in those kind of metrics. Same time, I think pressure inside 50 has been a bit of an issue as well. With, I think, they're second last in tackles inside forward 50. So pressure and defence, but the midfield is the big focus. I think Dangerfield hasn't quite stepped up to the occasion since taking captaincy. Cam Guthrie's had a rough start to the year. That game against Carlton, he was thrown back, and that came after a very quiet, I think, first 7 quarters of the year, across rounds 1 and 2. They're just really missing Joel Selwood's presence, I think. Just that hard in and under player that can give it out to the likes of Dangerfield and Guthrie and some of these others. There is some time, obviously, for the Cats. I don't think we can hit the panic button just yet as far as their premiership hopes, or at least finals hopes. But there's certainly something that certainly a chance for them to bounce back. Now they play Hawthorn, 17th versus 18th. I think too many saw that coming on Easter Monday. But if they lose this one, it's going to spell a bit of danger for them. Now, I think everyone kind of thought the same about the Suns. So we'll kind of see where this one goes in a week's time. But yeah, a crucial one coming up against the Hawks, and they're never easy for the Cats. Yeah,
and Hawthorn might be riding a little bit of momentum coming off that win in Tasmania. So now moving over to the MVP, the Zero Hanger MVP, and Mason Wood has taken the lead.
Yeah, bit of a shock in this one. But yeah, I think it's going to be quite hard to question his first 3 weeks of the season. Now, he jumped straight up to 42. I think he had a perfect 20-vote game over the weekend against Essendon, and now he'll just hit 2 votes ahead of LDU, who obviously missed round 3 with that calf tightness issue. Hopefully, if he's back, he'll be probably right back into the top spot by the end of this coming week, but we'll just have to wait and see. But for now, Mason Wood sitting pretty on top spot. 3rd and 4th, both occupied by Magpies. Jordan De Goey has jumped into 3rd. Nick Dacos, I think he might have received a couple of votes, I'm not too sure, but De Goey's performance against the Tigers seen him leapfrog the 2nd-year Magpie. So those 2, 3rd and 4th, great efforts from both. 5th spot, Clayton Oliver, best on-ground performance against the Swans. Absolutely fantastic from him. He's now sitting at 31 votes, so that's just 11 behind Mason Wood in top spot. And then rounding out top 6, Harry Sheasel also picked up a couple of votes in round 3 for his efforts. Another high possession game, and he's sitting 6th overall.
Yeah, very interesting MVP rankings at the moment. So that wraps it up for Zero Hanger TV for this week. Thanks, Mitch. And don't forget, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and catch up on all the latest AFL news at zerohanger.com.